Okay. I do talk about other things on this channel, other stuff other than just men, women stuff or racial stuff, although that kind of permeates my channel, men and women stuff, the racial stuff, because that seems to be permeating our entire society. Feminism bullshit and Black Lives Matter bullshit. Other than that, there's still things that, like, there's other shit that goes on. Like, there is police corruption. We do know this. I grew up with it. A lot of the cops I grew up with were all fucking Klan. A lot of them were. Can't say most of them. Don't know about that, but I know for a fact a lot of them were straight up Klan. I know this for a fact. So it's just the corruption that goes on about it. There's enough problems. This was back, August 4th of 2020. It's got already, from the Audit the Audit, pulled over for going below the speed limit. 1.7 million views. And I like Audit the Audit. I like them all. I'm against the press, all of them. So...
the speed limit, officer questioning, and reasonable suspicion, and comes to us from the Bateau Size channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode.
Yes.
Sir
Okay.
Snell of the Sampson County Sheriff's Office, just outside the town of Clinton, North Carolina.
Like, I got to record this, brother. This makes absolutely no sense.
Good morning. How are you, sir? Deputy Snell with the Sampson County Sheriff's Office. You got your license and registration on you?
I do. All right, man. That's what the stop is for, sir?
I'll let you know as soon as you give me your ID. Who you work for there? Your shirt.
Delmar Oil Company.
Delmar Oil Company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long you been there?
Man, that's why I got...
Yeah, I know. I always hate when cops do, see, I don't even interact with them anymore. If I get, now mind you, if I get pulled over because I actually did something, like I was speeding or whatever and stuff, I may interact with them, or I may just say, can you just give me the ticket so I can go about my business? It's like, there are times I do go for drives just for the hell of it, usually at night when there's not a lot of people on the road, and just to get outside, look at the stars and the darkness, and just, sometimes I take friends with me and we just go. But again, if I get pulled over for bullshit, I'm not going to be your friend. Just going to, and I've got a lot of family and friends that are police officers, but I'm not going to be your friend if you pull me over for bullshit.
Well, I'm just talking to you. I see your shirt here. I'm just asking. Is it wrong to ask a question about where you work?
Well,
seriously?
I'm trying to figure out what that has to do with the stop.
Okay. All right. Well, if you don't want to...
Again, it's, you pulled me, you're supposed to be, I hate when cops, and we already know this is a trick. Cops are not trying to be your friend. We already know that. They're trying to search. We know this. This is a fact. We know that cops are doing this shit. They're not trying to be your friend because they want to get on with their job too. And especially the fact that they pulled him over for a bogus reason. He was going under the speed limit. 65 and a 70. He was going under the speed limit. Wasn't hindering any traffic, nothing. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be sitting here obviously I'm on the road going somewhere. And you pulled me over. So, timely stop. You know your job. Hold, chop, chop, timely stop.
Just casual conversation, that's fine. Since I got you stopped here, you're driving 65 and you speed limit at 70, I'm just wondering what's wrong. Are you okay?
Like all states, North Carolina has legislated statutes regarding the speed at which vehicles may travel on public roadways. Subsection B of North Carolina General Statute 20-141 regulates the maximum speeds at which a vehicle may travel within and outside of city limits. And subsection D of the code states that except while towing another vehicle, or when an advisory safe speed sign indicates a slower speed, or as otherwise provided by law, it shall be unlawful to operate a passenger vehicle upon the interstate and primary highway system at less than 40 miles per hour in a speed zone of 55 miles per hour, and 45 miles per hour in a speed zone of 60 miles per hour or greater. Although
So he wasn't going like under 45, which is, I guess, when you would pull a car over. If he was actually doing less than the minimum speed limit. He was only doing 5 miles under. So again, why you pulled me over for what? What law did I break?
Perry was clearly not in violation of either of these statutes. Subsection H of the code offers law enforcement a wider range of authority in regards to traveling below the speed limit by stating that no person shall operate a motor vehicle on the highway at such a slow speed as to impede the normal and reasonable movement of traffic.
Right. If it's the normal, if you cannot impede the normal movement of traffic, the pace of movement of traffic. He wasn't doing that. He wasn't impeding anyone.
Traffic, except when reduced speed is necessary for safe operation or in compliance with law. If driving 5 miles below the speed limit somehow impeded traffic, then an officer would be within their authority to stop and cite a driver based on the language of subsection H. And we will discuss whether or not driving slowly constitutes reasonable suspicion later in this episode. It is impossible to know whether Mr. Perry was impeding traffic by traveling below the speed limit based on the video alone. However, Deputy Snell never mentions a disturbance in traffic at any point during the interaction.
Other than
Are you okay? Are you?
traveling 5 miles below the speed limit.
Yes, sir. I'm just checking on you. That's all I'm doing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You good?
I'm great.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm doing better than I deserve. You know. You got paperwork for the vehicle?
It's actually a rental car. The only paperwork.
No, I'm not giving you any other paperwork. Do you have medical training that you were checking on me as far as I literally said I was okay? Did I break any laws? I would not be still talking to this officer. I would not. Did I break any laws? Well, did I break any laws? Was I impeding traffic? Any of that? No. Then why are we still talking? Why are you still asking for paperwork? You have literally pulled me over for a bogus reason.
I have via email.
It's what?
A rental car.
But what were you saying about something? You said something about after that.
The only paperwork they give you is via email.
Okay. You pull it up digitally?
I can.
Okay.
Why? No.
How long you got it for?
None of your business.
Oh, they don't have like a scheduled day to return it?
They do, but unfortunately for my schedule right now, so I'm not able to.
You still live in Clayton?
I do.
Okay.
I would not ask any more, answer any more questions.
Also,
It's off of 7.
I would not answer any more questions. Are you going to give me a ticket? No? Then why are we still here?
It was due back yesterday at 2:30. Then
okay.
I would not be answering any more questions.
Where are you coming from now?
The Fifth Amendment's right to remain silent clause protects citizens from being forced to answer questions by police officers. It is important to bear in mind that anything you say may be used against you in a court, and even the most—
You know, what gets me is when cops get mad. Oh, you a lawyer? No. I know how to fucking read. I know how to read and I know my rights. I don't need to be a lawyer to know my basic rights. I hate when cops get mad about people knowing their damn rights. It's like they get pissed at that shit. You are in the wrong damn job. These are the officers that make it bad for other police officers. The ones where everybody's saying defund the police and everything. It's officers like this that need to be removed from the force.
most mundane and trivial questions have the potential to incriminate you. There are psychological elements associated with roadside questioning that extend beyond the legal implications of answering seemingly innocuous questions, which must also be considered. Officers are trained to detect social indicators that may correlate with certain guilty behaviors, and engaging in casual conversation with a suspect may reveal indicators that could lead to an officer obtaining reasonable suspicion. The Police One website, which touts itself as a, quote, secure, trusted, and reliable online environment for the exchange of information between officers and departments across the United States and from around the world, highlighted how ostensibly average replies from typical questions from an officer could be perceived as evasive and deceptive within the context of a police encounter. This accuracy of this perspective is questionable, but showcases the importance of invoking the right to remain silent, and it is equally as important to verbally express that you wish to remain silent. Although Mr. Perry does not directly invoke the right to remain silent, he rightfully questions the relevance of Deputy Snell's inquiries.
Where am I coming from?
Yes, sir.
Goldsboro.
Goldsboro. Is that where the office is?
I'm trying to understand what's the relation.
Do what?
I'm trying to understand the relation to the traffic stop.
Well, I'm
Right.
just trying to figure out where you're coming from, where you're going.
That's none of your business.
To identify where I'm traveling to and from during the traffic
All right,
stop.
hang out here just a minute, buddy.
I don't understand. Like, what's going on? Like,
No, it's these fucking officers.
Yeah, there. This here's a warning, okay? No court date, no fine, nothing like that. You throw this paper away when you get.
I'm not going to accept that. What law did I break for you to give me a warning? No, I'm not going to accept it. You can take it with you. Did I break any law? No, then you can take that piece of paper with you, because to me, it's just garbage. You're literally handing me trash. No. You do. I thought we were taking care of the environment and shit, right? But you just literally wasted a sheet of paper for no reason.
Ain't nothing to really worry about, all right?
okay, what was the warning for?
All right. Have a good day, all
What
right?
was the warning for, sir?
See?
You
Oh.
didn't even say what a warning was for, bro.
No, I don't think I would get out of the car.
I'm trying to understand what the warning is for.
It's for traveling under the speed limit, okay?
Well, how
You're traveling. What you say is kind of suspicious to travel under the speed limit when the speed limit is 70.
Driving a reasonable speed under the posted speed limit is not itself unlawful. In fact, it is sometimes required by subsection A of North Carolina General Statute 20-141, which states that no person shall drive a vehicle on a highway or in a public vehicular area at a speed greater than is reasonable and prudent under the conditions then existing. That does not mean that driving under the speed limit cannot contribute to the acquisition of reasonable suspicion and result in a detainment. For example, in the 2000 North Carolina Court of Appeals case of State versus Bonds, the court noted that the defendant's act of driving 10 miles per hour below the speed limit, along with other factors, sufficiently satisfied the officer's reasonable suspicion that the defendant was intoxicated. North Carolina's higher courts have affirmed on several occasions the notion that, when compounded with other factors, driving below the speed limit can amount to reasonable suspicion. Whether or not driving below the speed limit alone is sufficient to satisfy reasonable suspicion is still somewhat ambiguous in North Carolina. In the 2008 North Carolina Supreme Court case of State versus Stiles, the court suggested that driving below the speed limit may constitute reasonable suspicion by stating, quote, law enforcement may observe certain facts that would, in the totality of the circumstances, lead a reasonable officer to believe a driver is impaired, such as weaving within the lane of travel, or driving significantly slower than the speed limit. However, the North Carolina Court of Appeals stated that driving below the speed limit cannot solely amount to reasonable suspicion in the unpublished 2010 case of State versus Brown. Other states, such as Ohio, have also concluded that slow driving does not create reasonable suspicion, such as in the 2007 Ohio Circuit Court of Appeals case of State versus Bacher. Given that Mr. Perry was only traveling 5 miles per hour below the speed limit, it is highly unlikely that his speed could serve as reasonable suspicion for a stop. But as mentioned before, the North Carolina courts have rendered contradictory opinions on the matter, and it is difficult to draw any conclusions.
Well, from my perspective,
Sir,
I was trying to look at
I'm
68.
I'm not going to argue. I got stuff to do, okay?
Oh, now you got stuff to do. You were trying to have a conversation this entire fucking time. Where are you going? I'm just making conversation. Where are you coming from? I'm just making conversation. Now, all of a sudden, you got things to do.
Have a good day.
Too, when you stop me, so I'm trying to understand. I'm trying
Have a
to,
good
so I don't
morning.
make the same infraction. I'm trying to understand it.
Continue on.
Oh, so yeah, I had things to do too when you pulled me over for a bogus fucking reason. Now all of a sudden you got things to do?
Deputy Snell returned to his patrol car and left the scene without further incident. Following the encounter, Mr. Perry filed a formal complaint against the deputy and spoke with WRAL News about the incident.
Something needs to happen. I can't say what that is. All I ask is that if in fact there was something off about his stuff, at a minimum, a training segment, that would improve his abilities to service the community.
The WRAL News team contacted the Sampson County Sheriff's Office for a statement regarding the encounter, and the department had this to say.
In regards to the law regarding stopping someone under the speed limit, please keep in mind an officer only needs reasonable suspicion to stop a vehicle and not probable cause.
The department also assured WRAL and Mr. Perry that it was reviewing the incident and intended to take the appropriate action should they deem it necessary.
Bullshit.
Overall, Deputy Snell gets a C for exercising poor discretion by stopping Mr. Perry.
No, he should get an F. He should get a pure F. He wasn't weaving. He wasn't doing anything. He just 5 miles under the speed limit. No, that shouldn't be a C. That should be an F.
Issuing Mr. Perry a formal warning for traveling below the speed limit and validating his stop with questionable logic and ambiguous statements. While Deputy Snell's decision to stop Mr. Perry appears illegal at face value, the higher courts of North Carolina have yet to set a precedent regarding reasonable suspicion and driving below the speed limit. And North Carolina's traffic code is somewhat vague within the context of this encounter. Deputy Snell's reluctance to explain the citation to Mr. Perry is moderately unreasonable, considering that he took the time to write a formal warning instead of issuing a verbal warning, which contradicts the deputy's excuse of having other things to do, rather than explaining his decision. If the deputy's stop would be considered valid, then it creates an environment where drivers are expected to drive exactly the speed limit at all times, and discounts of variance in sensible factors, such as discrepancies in speedometers and tire size. The enigmatic statutes and case law surrounding the interaction offer no legitimate conclusions on the validity of the stop. But I do wonder whether Deputy Snell stops every elderly person he finds driving below the speed limit to make sure they are okay. Mr. Perry gets an A for maintaining a calm and collected demeanor throughout the encounter, rightfully questioning Deputy Snell's probe into his personal life, and following up this encounter with the proper legal action. Although Mr. Perry did not verbally invoke his right to remain silent, he said enough to end the deputy's questioning, and did so in a respectful way. It was reasonable for Mr. Perry to feel as though he was being harassed.
You know what? Fuck the respectful way. If you pull me over for a bullshit reason, which I've been on the receiving end of that shit, I'm not respectful, because you know damn well you pulled me over for a bullshit reason. I know you pulled me over for a bullshit reason. Just because you have a badge doesn't mean that garners instant respect because you have a fucking badge. I have never understood that, and that's one of the things I have hated about police officers. They can, just because they have a badge, they are supposed to be instantly respected. Just like the person who's president of the United States. I don't give a fuck that you're president, especially if I didn't fucking vote for you. You need to respect the office. If I was currently in the military, yes, I'll respect the office. As a civilian, no. I don't owe you a damn thing because you were elected. I voted for Trump. So even if it were meeting Donald Trump and he was being a prick, the office doesn't deserve my respect. So, I've never understood police officers feeling that, well, I got a badge, so that means you owe me respect. No, fuck your badge. I don't give a shit. I got family and friends that are cops. I don't respect them either. I respect them as a person. I don't respect the badge just because you have a fucking badge. We don't need no stinking badges. So anyway, it's these kind of cops that need to be fired. They need extra training. No, they've got more than enough training. They need to be fired.